She's the only splash of color in this picture, but take a close look at her tiara.
Yeah?
That's one of Princess Diana's favorites. It's actually the one that she wore at her wedding.
So nice.
We know that as much as we have now the reign of King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, the future is William and Kate.
And their children as well.
Kate Middleton didn't fight for the crown, yet somehow it's falling right into her lap, gem by glittering gem. In a twist that sent royal insiders reeling, Princess Anne has quietly unearthed Queen Elizabeth's hidden wish, a secret plan to pass down the monarchy's most priceless jewels. Not to Camilla, but to Kate. We're talking heirlooms wrapped in history, sealed with trust, and whispered across generations. So, how exactly did Kate become the chosen one, the quiet keeper of the crown's future? Let's unravel the Queen's private legacy, now exposed. The jewels Kate will one day wear. Now, before we dive into how Princess Kate Middleton earned the legendary jewels and future crown through the Queen, let's first take a brief look at the history surrounding them. Imagine the hush of anticipation as a grand procession departs Buckingham Palace, golden carriages gleaming under a gray November sky. Inside, one of them lies a piece of history as glittering as it is weighty, the imperial state crown, making its journey to Westminster for the Queen's ceremonial opening of Parliament. Yet while all eyes fall on the pageantry, few understand the extraordinary tales hidden in the gems themselves, jewels that one day will rest upon Kate's head. These are not mere ornaments. They are centuries of ambition, sacrifice, and legacy. Take the Koh-i-Noor, for instance, a diamond whose name means mountain of light, but whose past is soaked in shadows. Stolen, gifted, fought over, and feared. The stone has passed through the hands of shahs, maharajas, and conquerors, its ownership marred by tales of murder and betrayal. They say every male who claimed it met a tragic end. Perhaps that's why it's now only ever worn by queens. Queen Victoria was among the first to embrace this eerie superstition. When she succeeded her uncle in 1837, her jewels reflected both regality and practicality. Beset by migraines in her later years, she had a tiny diamond crown made in 1870, only 4 ounces resting lightly atop her head. But the heart of her collection remained deeply sentimental. On the eve of her wedding to Prince Albert, he gifted her a sapphire brooch surrounded by diamonds. She wore it constantly. Decades later, her great-great-granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth II, wore the same brooch at Princess Anne's christening, keeping Albert's gesture alive. But it wasn't just sentiment that defined the Queen's collection. In 1905, a diamond was discovered in South Africa, the Cullinan. Weighing over 3,000 carats, it was gifted to King Edward VII as a symbol of loyalty. Dutch master cutter Joseph Asher studied it for months before daring to strike the first blow. As the stone split perfectly, he fainted. Today, its fragments shine across the royal collection. The largest cut, the Star of Africa, sits in the sovereign's scepter, while its second, Cullinan II, is embedded in the imperial state crown, nestled alongside sapphires and the Black Prince's ruby, which dates back to 1367. That very crown, despite its reduced height, still weighs more than a kilo and contains nearly 3,000 diamonds. It was worn by Queen Elizabeth on her coronation day in 1953 and at every state opening of Parliament thereafter. For centuries, monarchs have donned its shimmering glory. It's not merely tradition, it's theater, power, history, all captured in one ornate creation. Not all royal jewels stay locked in the tower, though. Many are personal treasures. Queen Mary wore the Lesser Stars of Africa as brooches. Queen Elizabeth II followed suit. The Collet diamond necklace, gifted to Queen Victoria in 1858, and the Lahore diamond pendant remain in regular rotation. These aren't museum pieces. They're living history, passed from one queen to the next. And now, as the crown slowly inches closer to Princess Kate, so too does the weight of all these stories. The mystery, the splendor, the unspoken burden, they await her, glittering with silent expectation. And just when everyone thought the Queen had said it all, could her silence be the loudest message yet? Stay tuned. Kate Middleton and the unspoken will of a queen. It wasn't in grand declarations or dramatic gestures that Queen Elizabeth II shaped her legacy. It was in quiet choices, subtle nods, and the silent sparkle of a diamond brooch. Though she reigned for 70 years through the wars, shifting governments, personal heartbreak, and global change, her most powerful statements were often wordless. She wielded her jewelry like a private language, each tiara, necklace, and pin a sentence, a sentiment, a sign. And Kate Middleton? She learned to read it fluently. Even before the world began to notice, the Queen had started placing pieces of her past into Kate's future. It began discreetly, with the Cartier Halo tiara on Kate's wedding day in 2011, a piece made in 1936 and once worn by Queen Elizabeth herself. To many, it was just a dazzling crown, but to those who knew better, it was the Queen's way of saying, "You belong." Slowly, the message grew louder, not in volume, but in meaning. The legendary Nizam of Hyderabad necklace, gifted to the Queen in 1947, soon graced Kate's neck, one of the clearest signs of deeper trust and inclusion. Yet it wasn't until Princess Anne, known for her blunt honesty and unwavering loyalty, quietly confirmed what many had long suspected, that the story finally sharpened into focus. Queen Elizabeth had handpicked Kate to inherit her most treasured jewels, not for glamour, but for guardianship. Unlike those born into the palace, Kate had to learn to navigate royal life from the outside in. From the moment she became Duchess of Cambridge, she chose patience over haste. She smiled through pressure, took on duties with calm resolve, and never rushed into the spotlight. The Queen noticed. Kate's graceful balance of modern values and traditional decorum mirrored the same silent strength Elizabeth had mastered. And so, the jewels, those sparkling tokens of history, became the Queen's quiet endorsement. Not just heirlooms, but symbols of continuity, approval, and faith. Each piece Kate wore, from chandelier earrings at the 2023 Jordan royal wedding to delicate brooches once pinned on Queen Victoria's lace, was a thread weaving her into the royal fabric. They whispered of the Queen's values: dignity, duty, and emotional restraint wrapped in elegance. In a time when the monarchy faces fresh transitions under King Charles and roles are being reshaped for the future, Kate stands steady. The jewelry she now carries isn't simply a glittering inheritance. It's a legacy sealed in stone. A final message from a queen who trusted her to preserve not just tradition, but the very soul of the crown. And with those priceless gems now in her care, could one hidden piece rewrite everything we thought we knew? Keep watching. How the halo became Kate's crown of quiet power. It began not with Kate, but in 1936, when King George VI gifted a young Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, a tiara crafted by Cartier to mark a wedding anniversary. What he chose wasn't the grandest, but the most meaningful. Composed of 739 brilliant cut and 149 baguette-cut diamonds arranged in a gentle scroll, the tiara gave the illusion of movement and light. Less a crown, more a whisper of elegance. It wasn't meant to overpower. Instead, it was for the young women of the monarchy, stepping quietly into roles they were born or married into. Years later, it was passed to a teenage Princess Elizabeth on her 18th birthday. A symbolic moment. She didn't wear it often, but when she did, It was a reminder of the quiet power she would come to embody. As Elizabeth became queen, the tiara passed through hands, gracing Princess Margaret, then Princess Anne. Each appearance wasn't just ceremonial, it marked a step toward responsibility, each diamond reflecting quiet duty. But it was in 2011 that the tiara found its most watched moment. As Catherine Middleton stood at the altar of Westminster Abbey beside Prince William, the world looked past the veil and flowers and fixed on the halo tiara placed gently on her head. The piece wasn't flashy. It didn't compete with her dress or her moment. It amplified them. A tiara that had rested on the heads of royals preparing for a lifetime of service was now crowning someone who had earned her place not by birth, but by grace, patience, and quiet resilience. That day, Queen Elizabeth didn't just lend Kate a beautiful heirloom, she handed her a message only few would understand. Of all the royal jewels, this one was chosen to speak. It whispered of trust, of inclusion, of readiness. Though Kate hasn't worn it publicly since, the tiara's legacy grows stronger with time. It connects her to the lineage of women who held the monarchy steady, not through force, but through steadiness. Its elegance is eternal, not because it shines, but because of what it stands for: continuity, loyalty, and a future held in steady hands. And now, as Kate stands quietly in line to become Queen Consort, is that tiara just going to be a history on her head or a prophecy? Stay tuned to find out. Elizabeth's most personal legacy. While the halo tiara quietly signaled Kate's readiness for the future, the rest of Queen Elizabeth II's private jewelry collection told an even deeper story, one of control, vision, and legacy, wrapped in gold, diamonds, and unspoken meaning. Far beyond the famed crown jewels locked away in the Tower of London, ceremonial, untouchable, and owned by the nation, there existed a more intimate treasure trove, Elizabeth's personal collection. This wasn't simply a box of glittering accessories. It was a living, breathing archive of family ties, whispered approval, and royal strategy. Unlike the sovereign's scepter or the imperial state crown, symbols of state power, the Queen's private pieces were hers alone, accumulated through inheritance, personal purchases, or gifts. They carried not just sparkle, but stories, and she wielded them with the precision of a monarch who ruled not only through law, but also through image. Elizabeth didn't wear jewelry for decoration. She wore it like punctuation. A sapphire brooch could underline diplomacy. A simple pearl strand might soften formality. But when she placed a jewel into someone else's hands, or on their neck, it meant far more than sentiment. It was mentorship without words, legacy passed with precision. Princess Anne once put it plainly. Her mother never made careless choices, especially not with something so deeply woven into royal identity. When Elizabeth chose to lend a necklace or tiara, it wasn't just about adornment. It was about positioning. She was guiding the future, shaping it with every clasp and pin. Kate Middleton in particular became a quiet symbol of this transfer of vision. Her rise within the monarchy was never loud, but it was incredibly deliberate. Every borrowed earring or bracelet was a quiet nod from a queen who saw in her the strength and grace needed to stand beside a future king. And though these jewels shimmered in public, their true weight was carried in private. Each piece represented duty, patience, and the careful molding of a royal life. Elizabeth didn't just share beauty, she shared burden. To wear her jewels was to inherit more than elegance. It was to accept the responsibility of history. By choosing who wore what and when, Queen Elizabeth was building more than an image. She was anchoring the monarchy's future, stone by stone, strand by strand. The collection wasn't just personal. It was a silent, enduring plan. The necklace that spoke without words. And among all the treasures Queen Elizabeth passed on with deliberate care, none shimmered with more quiet power and layered meaning than the Nizam of Hyderabad necklace, a gift wrapped not just in diamonds but diplomacy. Crafted in 1947 by Cartier and given by the fabulously wealthy Nizam of Hyderabad as a wedding gift to the then Princess Elizabeth, the necklace wasn't merely a stunning accessory. It was a symbol of connection between empires, a union of opulence and obligation. With its platinum setting and intricate floral motifs formed from clusters of high-grade diamonds, the piece was delicate, yet commanding, bold without being ostentatious. It was estimated to be worth over $66.3 million, a price tag that paled in comparison to its symbolic weight in the royal vault. Though housed in London, this wasn't just Britain's jewel. It was India's whisper in the Queen's legacy. Elizabeth II wore it during pivotal state moments, her chosen adornment whenever strength needed elegance and heritage needed visibility. In formal portraits, the necklace sparkled beneath her calm gaze, quietly reinforcing her role not only as a monarch but as a woman who carried centuries of history on her shoulders. She wore it not to impress, but to express. Then, in 2014, that same necklace found its way around the neck of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. At a National Portrait Gallery reception, the world saw more than Kate's poise. They saw a baton being passed. The Queen, ever precise, did not lend this necklace lightly. When she allowed Kate to wear it, and again in 2019 at a diplomatic corps event, it was a clear and calculated endorsement. This was Elizabeth's way of confirming Kate as a modern face of monarchy and a bridge to the future. These weren't just fashion choices, they were messages. In wearing the necklace, Kate stepped further into her evolving role within the royal family. It wasn't just an inheritance, it was a signpost, a signal to the world that tradition would not fade, but adapt, with grace and diamonds intact. Today, the Nizam necklace remains a quiet force behind royal imagery, a brilliant blend of heritage and foresight. Passed from one powerful woman to another, it continues to tell the story of stability in uncertain times, reminding the world that some legacies, like certain diamonds, are too carefully cut to ever lose their brilliance. And if the Nizam of Hyderabad necklace whispered legacy, what secrets do the Greville earrings scream? Stay glued to your screen to find out. Jewels that speak, louder than words. In royal tradition, jewelry is rarely just decorative. It's deliberate, personal, and loaded with meaning. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped out in 2023 wearing those bold, diamond-studded chandelier earrings to crown Prince Hussein of Jordan's wedding, it wasn't just an accessory choice. It was a confident nod to continuity, an echo of Queen Elizabeth's legacy brought to life again in a new era. Originally gifted in 1942 by Dame Margaret Greville to Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, the earrings, an elegant fusion of half-moon, trapeze, and emerald-cut diamonds, became iconic during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. She wore them with frequency and intent, especially at state events, embedding their sparkle into the memory of her royal image. That Catherine now wears them is more than symbolic, it's purposeful. The Queen's private collection was never shared lightly. Each jewel, each tiara or brooch passed down, carries more than history, it carries a role. These silent handovers tell us something. Queen Elizabeth had a plan. Princess Anne once hinted as much, reassuring that nothing happening now is accidental. The late Queen always calculated even in matters of style. Quietly, orchestrated her jewelry's journey to avoid confusion and affirm the future. And Catherine, whose choices blend Diana's emotional depth with the Queen Mother's refined presence, has become the ideal messenger. Rumors swirl about other royal heirlooms entering her collection, from Queen Mary's diamond choker to the Queen Mother's sapphire brooch and Elizabeth's beloved triple-strand pearls. Whether worn or tucked away, they all tell the same story. These pieces aren't just royal sparkle, they're strategy. And in Catherine's careful hands, they continue a legacy, not just preserved, but gracefully advanced. How Catherine quietly inherited the crown. Just like the sparkle of those chandelier earrings, power in the royal family rarely announces itself. It slips into the room, silent and certain. In the world of Windsor, heirlooms aren't just beautiful, they're loaded with purpose. And when Catherine, Princess of Wales, wears a piece once belonging to Queen Elizabeth, she's not just dressing the part. She's speaking volumes without saying a word. These gestures, carefully chosen jewels, public appearances, shared glances, have quietly placed Catherine at the heart of a centuries-old tradition. Her path wasn't loud or sudden. It's been shaped slowly, almost invisibly, with years of poise, consistency, and quiet alignment with royal expectations. Unlike Queen Camilla, whose late ascension followed years of public skepticism, Catherine's story has been seamless, built not only on image, but on trust, earned behind palace doors. What's most revealing isn't what she says, but what she wears. Queen Elizabeth, ever deliberate, didn't randomly lend jewels from her private trove, pieces not bound by the crown jewel's official rules. Each necklace, brooch, or tiara she passed to Catherine was a lesson, a private tutoring session in royalty. When Catherine appeared at diplomatic events draped in Elizabeth's signature pearls or iconic brooches, it wasn't for flair. It was a message that she'd been chosen, not just as a wife to a future king, but as a guardian of the crown's dignity. Even more telling was Princess Anne's calm revelation after the Queen's passing, that Elizabeth had already organized her jewelry, earmarking specific treasures for Catherine. This was no accident. It was succession written in stones, not speeches, a way of affirming Catherine's place without stirring public conflict. And the public has noticed. Her grace, her family life, her work on childhood development and mental health, all combine with these silent symbols to paint a portrait of modern royalty rooted in history. So when you see Catherine wearing those familiar diamonds, know this: it's not just elegance, it's Elizabeth's final word on who she trusted to carry forward not just jewels, but the soul of the monarchy itself. But why did Queen Elizabeth's most treasured jewels skip Queen Camilla? Hidden snub or royal strategy? Stay tuned to find out. Why Camilla was left out of Elizabeth's private legacy. In a world where tradition often hides behind polished smiles and palace walls, Queen Elizabeth's most intimate message came not through speeches or ceremonies, but through the quiet absence of inheritance.
This is BBC News from London. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
When she passed in 2022, the world quickly noticed something odd. Her most cherished personal jewels, pieces worn during dinners, private moments, and decades of service, were not left to Queen Camilla. Instead, they appeared on Catherine, Princess of Wales. That decision wasn't an accident. It was deliberate, strategic, and quietly revolutionary. Though Camilla now stands beside King Charles III, wearing the official crown jewels during state events, the distinction remains sharp. Those ceremonial pieces belong to the monarchy itself. But Elizabeth's private collection, gifts from her parents, tokens from world leaders, sentimental pieces worn throughout her reign, were deeply personal. She didn't pass them down lightly. In fact, she never publicly loaned such pieces to Camilla. There was respect between them, yes, but not mentorship. No subtle signs of preparation, no quiet exchanges of heirlooms that signal a queen's trust. Instead, it was Catherine who received those signs early and often. Through shared engagements, private lunches, and strategically timed loans of brooches and tiaras, Queen Elizabeth quietly shaped her granddaughter-in-law for the future. These weren't just pretty accessories. Each one acted like a royal compass, teaching Catherine how to carry the weight of history without saying a word. And when Princess Anne later confirmed that Elizabeth had personally organized her jewels for Catherine, the message was finally clear. This was a transfer of legacy, not just a gesture of affection. For the monarchy, where every move is calculated and every photo studied, such choices matter. Catherine, with her calm presence and unblemished record, was a safer guardian of the Queen's legacy. Her image reminded the public of the late monarch herself, thoughtful, quiet, measured. Camilla's journey had been more turbulent, shaped by past controversies and hard-earned acceptance. And while she has gracefully fulfilled her role, Queen Elizabeth seemed focused not on the present reign, but the one that comes next. The difference lies not just in who wears what, but in what those choices quietly say. Catherine's jewels whisper of continuity, trust, and a monarchy carefully preserving its most treasured truths, not through noise, but through legacy wrapped in diamonds. What her jewels say about the future of the monarchy. While the royal family avoids bold proclamations, Catherine's jewelry has quietly taken over the conversation. From tiaras once kept deep in velvet-lined cases to necklaces that whispered their way through decades of royal history. Each piece she wears now seems to carry a message bigger than fashion. Her public image, elegant, composed, and quietly powerful, has transformed these royal accessories into symbols of continuity and trust. The return of the Cartier Halo tiara, famously worn at her 2011 wedding, is more than a nostalgic moment. If seen again at a state banquet or coronation, it won't just be sparkling under the lights. It will be reminding the world of a promise she made: to serve with grace, preserve traditions, and honor her role in a changing institution. Likewise, the possibility of the Nizam of Hyderabad necklace making a reappearance isn't just about diamonds. It's a visual handshake across generations, once worn by Queen Elizabeth, and now hinting at Kate's growing influence on the international stage. What sets Catherine apart is her quiet mastery of symbolism. Her choices, never loud, always intentional, mirror the values the Queen held dear. When Princess Anne revealed that Kate is the main heir to Elizabeth's private collection, it wasn't just family news. It signaled the late Queen's trust, earned not through popularity, but through consistency, composure, and an unwavering sense of duty. The future of the monarchy isn't being shouted, it's being worn. And as Catherine steps deeper into her role, each tiara, each brooch, becomes a subtle but firm statement. She isn't just next in line. She is already leading, one jewel at a time. So what do you think? Will Princess Kate truly uphold Queen Elizabeth's legacy through these iconic jewels? Or is there more behind the royal sparkle? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.